going out the main exit.
The dangerous moments some students faced as they fought back against angry hecklers who sought to ban the pride flag at York Catholic schools this June.
I'll just stay away from this road, I guess, until Saturday.
Plus, a stretch of the lakeshore you may want to avoid. We've got details on how the city is planning to mitigate the impact of construction on a vital street, especially with our Jays and Leafs pulling thousands to the downtown.
I didn't even know that hockey existed.
And how the Leafs are pulling the attention of new fans as they try to win their first playoff series in 19 years tomorrow night. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. The hurt and pain is still palpable for some families in the York Catholic school community tonight after anti-queer protesters disrupted a school board meeting last evening. The debate was centered around whether or not the pride flag could fly at schools during Pride Month this upcoming June. And as some students spoke out in support of the move to demonstrate tolerance and acceptance, an angry mob shouted them down. Ali Chiasson looks at the impact of the vitriol that was thrown their way.
The notion of flying a pride flag during Pride Month at York Catholic schools spurred commentary like this from those against.
Because the souls of students are in jeopardy from being bombarded with the wrong form of acceptance in these LGBT symbols.
When it came time to hear from the students themselves.
Our next speakers are Mr. Mickles. Mr. Please. Security. Have one more outburst. All right?
Hecklers were escorted outside the room to allow Patrick Mickelson and Isio Emakpour to speak.
That hate has no home in YCDSB schools.
We have been continuously shunned, dehumanized, and told that we do not belong. And I just want to tell every queer student listening that you do belong.
Meanwhile, outside of the room, parents who had been escorted out lingered. Seen here, recorded by a teacher. York Regional Police confirm they were called to the meeting, but no charges were laid.
It was pretty scary. Patrick and I had to be taken out of a side door rather than going out the main exit because there was such a huge crowd of people in the front foyer of the building. It was a little disheartening to hear all that there, but we were also surrounded by the most amazing group of supportive people that made us feel a little better about everything that was going on.
They weren't alone in their endeavor. Isio and Patrick circulated a petition garnering over 1,000 signatures from people who stand with them. Patrick Mickelson stands in his faith while making his case.
Matthew 7:12 states, "In everything, do to others as you would have them do to you." Including our Catholic values in Scripture, we're proving that the Catholic community and our values as Catholics support this and support the raising of the pride flag.
The York Catholic School Board chair regrets the turmoil and
we'll continue to listen, as we did last night, and to listen to all of the input that we receive. And once we've received that, then we'll sit down as a board and examine and assess the information that we have. And ultimately, the public will know whatever decision we come up with.
he couldn't say when they will decide whether to fly the flag or not, but likely before June, which is Pride Month. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Aurora.
Members of Toronto's Tibetan community took to the streets in droves tonight in a show of support for the Dalai Lama. Their spiritual leader has been caught in controversy recently after a video emerged showing him asking a young boy to suck his tongue.
So I'm wearing a Tibetan traditional white scarf, and the white scarf symbolizes innocence, it symbolizes purity, clarity, and this is exactly what His Holiness stands for. His Holiness is a beacon of hope and light for the Tibetan people.
There is concern within the Tibetan community that the clip of the Dalai Lama was heavily edited and taken out of context. The video was recorded at an event in February, but it was weeks later that it went viral. Members of the community here say it had been heavily edited, and they feel the Chinese government may have been involved. They also point out the event was organized by the boy's mother, who was present during the child's interaction with the Dalai Lama, as were at least 100 other people. And here's a look at Lakeshore Boulevard tonight. Drivers in this area are in for a rough ride in the days ahead. Lane reductions are scheduled over the next week that are expected to cause delays to the already busy street. Dale Manukduk explains why and shows us what the city plans to do to mitigate the problem.
Best to make alternate plans because 2 westbound lanes on this stretch of Lakeshore Boulevard leading up to Reese Street will be closed until Saturday morning.
I'll just stay away from this road, I guess, until Saturday.
I'm glad I ran into you, though. I live in the neighborhood and I didn't know that, so it's good to know.
Enbridge is replacing portions of a gas pipeline between Cherry Street and Bathurst Street. The current pipeline was installed in the 1950s and provides natural gas to customers, including hospitals.
You know what? It's never easy when that happens, but it's old infrastructure, right? It's got to be done sometime, and there's never a good time to do it.
Now, that's not the only delays that will be caused as a result of this gas pipeline replacement work. 2 eastbound lanes along Lakeshore will also be closed from May 1st to May 6th.
I think you just kind of expect it at this point. We're just used to it now. A lot of construction. It's just, yeah, we just have to live with it in the city. It's not great. You would work around it. You try not to drive in. I unfortunately have to drive in today, but otherwise I wouldn't be coming down. I just work from home.
To compound issues, the area will see increased congestion over the next few days. Thousands are expected at Scotiabank Arena tomorrow for the Leafs game. There's also Jays games on Friday night and Saturday afternoon. But the city says it'll tear down the construction for certain peak periods.
Crews will be demobilizing during the Leafs games to minimize or mitigate the traffic impacts.
Traffic signals have also been adjusted. This is the 3rd phase of a 4-phase project. Enbridge says the final component will entail construction along Parliament Street. That work is scheduled this summer. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
And here is a live look at the Toronto skyline tonight. 6 degrees and dipping down to a low of 0 overnight. Victor Paolo joins us now with the first look at the forecast. And Victor, chilly tonight. Environment Canada even issuing a weather advisory for our region.
Chris, as you do know, we do have a frost advisory for Toronto and the surrounding areas in the GTA. That means if you do have some sensitive plants on the balcony, you probably want to bring those in. Now, taking a look at what we can expect for the rest of the day when it comes to Thursday, clear skies is in the order for the day when it comes to Toronto and the GTA. And the clear skies means 2 things. Clear skies means there's no clouds to insulate that heat, so it's going to feel like 1 degree when it comes to the morning. But clear skies also means it's going to feel warm. Taking a step aside here to look at all those clear skies, it's going to get to as warm as 11 degrees, and that's going to be the warmest temperature that will be in Toronto for the foreseeable future. Now, looking at what was going to be in the long-range forecast, we have rain in the long-range forecast. And looking at what we can see for our next 3-day forecast, what we can expect for the next couple of hours, we're expecting it to get to about 11 degrees tomorrow will be the high. Overnight tonight, it's going to feel like -1. That's why we have that frost warning out. But when it starts the day, it's going to be 3 degrees, feeling like 1. So, Chris, hopefully you got those plants put away and you're looking forward to that sunny day. Back to you.
Getting those plants to safety. Thanks, Victor. Now to a months-long stolen vehicle investigation that Toronto police says has led to the recovery of millions of dollars worth of cars. The investigation follows a string of recent car thefts and carjackings right across the region. Meg Roberts has all those details.
Car seats, stuffed animals, and other small personal belongings. Reminders that all these stolen vehicles once belonged to someone.
Here to discuss the ongoing results of Project Stallion.
Today, Toronto police announcing 556 vehicles have been recovered, amounting to more than $27 million. The recovery blitz in Toronto's West End happening over a span of 5 months between November of last year and this April.
You hear today about an incredible divisional investigation that had far-reaching implications and incredible results.
119 people have also been charged. Police say the majority of individuals are working within small or large organized groups. 15 out of those 119 suspects are under the age of 18.
For the most part, they go to court. It's seen as a property crime, and they end up with little or no real sentence.
Police said in one case, a single car led investigators to a container warehouse where they were able to seize 30 more, which were being prepared to ship to Montreal.
There needs to be a process or something in place where the owners of these containers have to report what's in the containers. None of that's currently done. So we don't know even what's being shipped. And they go to the Port of Montreal. Only a certain number can be vetted by CBSA. So there are things that can be done going forward.
Now, the sea of vehicles at a Toronto police parking lot have all been stolen, not necessarily a part of Project Stallion. Now, what happens to all of them? Well, when the police are finished their investigation, they either go back to the owners or the insurance companies. About 9,500 vehicles were stolen in Toronto last year. Police say their work isn't done yet.
Message for the criminals: we're coming after you.
Meg Roberts, CBC News, Toronto.
To Rexdale now, and a Toronto police officer suffered minor injuries after a collision involving 3 police cruisers today.
Approximately 9:24 this morning, our officers from 23 Division received a call from concerned citizens regarding what they believe was an impaired driver. The driver of a BMW was apparently falling asleep in traffic and had pulled into a car lot. When our officers arrived on scene, they found that vehicle had actually collided with one of the parked cars in the parking lot, and that driver, who was asleep at the time, woke up and tried to flee from the officers.
Police officers say the cruisers were damaged while stopping the car from fleeing. The injured officer was taken to the hospital, and a 35-year-old man has been taken into custody. And in Scarborough, fire officials are investigating what led to an explosion at an industrial plaza last night.
The building is unstable, so we have a city engineer en route to declare the building unusable.
This one happening just before midnight. Crews were called to the area near Finch and Nielsen for reports of an explosion. The blast caused the roof to collapse, and adjacent units were also damaged. While no injuries have been reported, the cause of the explosion is still under investigation. Welcome back. Toronto Public Health is investigating a lab-confirmed case of measles in an adult and are currently tracing back through known contacts who were potentially exposed. Public Health says the confirmed case is believed to be travel-related, and officials say people who are exposed to measles are at risk of infection, especially if they don't have 2 doses of a measles vaccine or haven't had measles in the past. But they are even asking those who are up to date with their vaccines to watch for symptoms, including a high fever and a red rash lasting 4 to 7 days. Officials say the possible exposures happened between April 14th and 21st at the following locations: Toronto Western Hospital's Emergency Department and the Harbourfront Apple Tree Medical Clinic, Toronto General's Hospital's Emergency Department and Tropical Diseases Clinic waiting room, along with Toronto General's Blood Collection Center and Pre-Admission Clinic waiting room. Anyone who is at those locations during that time should check their immunization records and monitor for symptoms. As the affordable housing situation grows ever more dire in Toronto, a warning tonight from city staff. Toronto's program aimed at building more affordable housing could stall by July. That's because city officials are still waiting for word on how the provincial government will compensate the city after it eliminated a key revenue stream from developers. As municipal affairs reporter Sean Jeffords tells us, the warning from city staff hit the mayoral campaign trail today.
With 2 months to go before Toronto's mayoral vote, candidates are trying to make an impression. But a new report headed to councillors has drawn into focus the financial reality they may inherit. It says unless the city receives hundreds of millions in funding from Premier Doug Ford's government, its affordable housing program will stall in July. Anna Bilau says the problem stems from Ford's controversial Bill 23, which eliminated development charges.
The way that you build housing is to create some certainty, and unfortunately what Bill 23 did was create a lot of uncertainty in the housing market and is actually delaying a lot of projects. So we need the province to get on with it.
The policy was designed to motivate developers to build, but the city says without the revenue the fees generate, it can't move 3 shovel-ready projects ahead this year. Toronto uses those charges to pay for sewer, sidewalks, and roads. Mitzi Hunter says if she's elected, she'll hold Doug Ford's feet to the fire.
Bill 23 is creating additional costs and taking away from our ability to pay for the services that we need to support the growth in the city.
Anthony Peruzza says the situation with housing now is emblematic of the city's fiscal fight with Ontario.
We need to go back and sit down with them and work out a better financial arrangement because under the current conditions we are seriously strapped.
Brad Bradford chairs the planning committee. The mayoral candidate unveiled his own housing platform today. He had a blunt assessment of Housing Now, Toronto's affordable housing plan.
My public land strategy will rescue and accelerate the city's failing Housing Now program, which has already identified 21 sites since being announced in 2018, but has yet to break ground on a single site in more than 5 years.
This expert says the province had good intentions with Bill 23 because Ontario desperately needs more housing. But it also must resolve this so projects aren't delayed.
Any shortfall could result in all sorts of unintended consequences that needs to be addressed.
Now, the province has said that part of the intent of Bill 23 is to eliminate development charges on affordable housing units to ensure that they're built. It also says that it's going to be auditing the city's books to measure the impact of this new policy, but it hasn't yet said how or when it will make the city whole for the elimination of those charges. Sean Jeffords, CBC News, Toronto.
All right, Victa is back with our long-range forecast. And Victa, what is ahead for us?
Chris, taking a look at our map of North America, we can see some trends that are happening. As you do see over here in the southwest, it's going to be heating up as you do see 30 degrees in Phoenix, but working all the way up to the northeast. Montreal is only 6 degrees, 8 in Toronto. You do see it has been below seasonal temperatures and quite wet as well. As mentioned, we do have that frost warning in place for overnight tonight, but once we're all through and said and done that frost, when it comes to tomorrow morning, it's going to feel like 1 degree. But after that 1 degree, as you do get later on to your commute home, it's going to be as warm as 11 degrees and sunny. No better day than a Thursday when it's 11 degrees. Now, taking a look at what else we can expect when it comes to your overnight, things will be getting cloudy, as you do see here, and those cloudy skies are definitely letting you know that we have some rain coming our way. Some rain coming our way early Friday morning, and it's going to last consistently scattered throughout the entire weekend, all the way through to about Tuesday. So for those who have some long-term planning to do, definitely want to make sure you're planning around all the precipitation that'll be falling around the GTA. Now, looking at what we could expect when it comes to the rainfall totals. Looking over here at the map, when it comes to rainfall totals, we're expecting Windsor to receive more rain than the GTA, as they're expecting anywhere between 7 millimeters to 10. London, Ontario expecting anywhere between 10 millimeters to 15. And over in the GTA expecting anywhere from 1 millimeter all the way through to about 5. Now, taking a look at what we could expect for tomorrow morning when your little ones are getting ready for school, well, the temperature is going to be 3 degrees, feeling like 1, mix of sun and cloud. It's one of those spring days. We almost got to be able to prepare for a cold morning and a warmer afternoon. Now, looking at the 3- and 7-day forecast for some things to look forward to, one thing we can all look forward to is at 11 degrees on Thursday and also a 9 degree on Saturday with a mix of sun and cloud. Now, the thing about the weather, when it comes to it, it's going to be consistently below seasonal to wrap up the month of April. But as April has been very on brand with its theme, which has been April showers. Now, the one thing we can look forward to with all these April showers is some May flowers and some May sunshine. But until then, stay dry. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Vic. Finally, tonight, it is an exciting time to be a hockey fan in Toronto. The Leafs just 1 win away from their first playoff series victory in nearly 2 decades. It'd be an extra special moment for a lot of younger fans in Leafs Nation who aren't old enough to remember the last time the team advanced past the first round, but also for fans who are new to the country and the game. Greg Ross caught up with a couple of fans hoping to witness something special tomorrow.
Growing up, Abrar Al-Maktoran and Brittany Morrison didn't know anything about the sport they now love.
I didn't even know that hockey existed.
You know, I would watch Olympics and certain things. You would see ice sports and stuff like that, but really had no prior knowledge of hockey until coming to Canada.
Both had very different journeys coming here to Canada. Abrar is originally from Syria, and her family was forced to flee.
When the war broke out, we fled to Lebanon. We went to Lebanon because it was like really close to where I'm from in Syria.
In 2016, they immigrated to Canada. Not long after arriving, Abrar's brother joined Hockey for Youth, a program that teaches the game to new Canadians.
I saw that my brother was like having the best time of his life, and I would like every time he was playing, I'd go there and just like watch them, and I was like, I want to do that too.
And she did, instantly falling in love with the sport. It's also where she met Brittany, who moved to Canada from Jamaica in 2017.
I remember kind of first time, you know, putting on my skates and all my hockey equipment. I actually had my coach and everybody else kind of like helping me to tie my laces.
3 Through the program, both Abrar and Brittany were given tickets to go see the Leafs play in person, which is when they discovered they like watching hockey as much as they like playing.
I didn't expect to see that many people in such a giant space, but there were like so many people and it was really exciting.
Every time there was a goal, everybody would stand up and it would be a big eruption of the crowd. And definitely I felt that energy and I felt that atmosphere.
After Abrar's first game, she got to stand outside the Leafs dressing room and fist bump the players as they left the ice.
I didn't know that this was like such a big deal until I posted that video on Instagram.
Shortly after going to her first game, Brittany got to skate with Mitch Marner at a charity event.
I had a moment where I had a little interaction where we were having a conversation, kind of talking about hockey.
These are the kinds of moments that have made them Leaf fans for life.
I love it so much.
Abrar and Brittany are hoping the Leafs can do something this year that they've never done as long as they've lived in Canada: win in the playoffs.
Hopefully, in my lifetime, if I saw them win the Stanley Cup, well, that would be amazing for me.
Now that I am Canadian, I'm a part of the city, so their win is my win, because it's like everybody's win.
They'll both be watching tomorrow night when the Leafs try to win their first playoff series in 19 years. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
I just love it, and they're certainly not alone in hoping that the Leafs go all the way. You better believe a lot of people will be watching along with those fans tomorrow night right here on CBC television. Since we're carrying the game, we won't have a show tomorrow night at 11, but I'll see you back here on Friday night. Have a great night, everybody.